December 9th, 2024. The time is 6 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
City Attorney Docker.
Here.
Acting City Manager Petty.
Here.
Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena City Commission meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in the city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage and your participation. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our minutes from October 30th, 24, 11, November 13, 24, and November 18, 24 were received. Commissioners, any comments or corrections? Minutes will stand as submitted. Board appointments. I'm recommending the following board appointments. For the ADA Compliance Committee, reappointment of Jacob Krasovich to a first full term on the ADA Compliance Board as a representative of the disabled community. First term will expire September 1st, 2024. Business Improvement District, appointment of Robin Lund to a first term on the Business Improvement District. Term will expire October 31st, 2027. Citizen Conservation Board, appointment of Lexi Lard to an interim term on the Citizens Conservation Board. Term will expire February 28, 2027. Lewis and Clark Library Board, reappointment of Judy Meadows to a second term on the Lewis and Clark Library Board as a joint city-county representative. Term will expire December 31st, 2029. City Planning Commission, appointment of Maddie Petrosky to an interim term.
iPhone first.
I didn't do that. Apologies, iPhones. City Planning Commission, appointment of Maddie Petrosky to an interim term on the City Planning Commission. Interim term will expire May 17, 2026. Helena Public Arts Committee, reappointment of Amanda Reese to a second term on the Helena Public Arts Committee. Term will expire December 31st, 2027. Reappointment of Rebecca Shaw Kino to a full term on the Public Arts Committee. Term will expire December 31st, 2027. Tourism BID, appointment of Matthew Uhas to an interim term on the Tourism BID. Interim term will expire June 31st, 2027. Comments or questions from the commission? Please go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The ADA Compliance Committee, it says the first term will expire September 1, 2024, which appears to be in the past, and I don't know how we can correct that.
That correction will be made, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, without having the packet directly in front of me at this time, I can't give you the exact date, but we can go ahead and with the call of the city attorney, could we make the motion and correct the term at a later time?
Mayor, commissioners, yes, city clerk, I think if you put it on the record, that we will correct the date, it would be sufficient for the record.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments on these appointments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve the board appointments as read by you with the clarification for the ADA Compliance Committee with the date to be corrected in the future.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Consent agenda claims. And move to approve claims from 10/28/24 through 11/22/24, checks number 202535. Oh, go ahead and do your stuff there. Because I didn't see you coming up, so I thought you were leaving it with me.
I never know how you're going to handle this, Mayor, so I'm happy to read it for you.
Go ahead, Director Danielson, you have the floor.
This is asked to move to approve claims paid from October 28th, 2024 through November 22nd, 2024, checks numbered 202535 through 202955, and ACH is numbered 475 through 488 for a grand total of $3,062,453.59.
Commissioners, any comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion. Who's doing? Madam Director, are you going to do the B and C also? Or who's doing that? There are more to the consent agenda. Are you only responsible for claims?
Mayor, I'm only responsible for claims.
There you go. So we will complete hers and move forward. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve consent agenda item A claims.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Do we have any public comments on this? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Agreement for the lease of the city conduit. The director, oh. Okay.
My understanding that this item would be moved to a regular item because there was a slight change to some language in the agreement. Are we okay to move forward right now with it?
I'll find it from the commissioners. If not, we can.
Mayor, I think because the record for the consent agenda does not reflect what we would ask you to approve, there should be a presentation that illustrates what should be in the record in order for you to fully understand what you would be voting on. So it'd be my recommendation to move this from the consent agenda to a regular item to be considered there.
All right, we can move it to the regular item. Commissioners, is it okay? All right. Okay, approval of resolution amending resolution number 20917. Director Kanopky, what say you?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'll read this for you. The approval of the resolution amending Resolution 20917 passed on the 17th of June, 2024, declaring various vehicles owned by the City of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of that property.
Comments or questions for Director Kanopky? Do you have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
thank you. I move to approve a resolution amending Resolution 20917 passed on passed on the 17th of June, 2024, declaring various vehicles owned by the City of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of the property.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Do you have any public comments on this? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Bid award. Bid purchase award for wastewater treatment plant condensing boiler system. Project number 24-20. Director, Engineer Clark, you have the floor.
You got me. Good evening, Mayor
Good
and
evening.
Commission. This bid award is a replacement of the wastewater treatment plant's boiler system. We're replacing one boiler with three. The existing boiler is about 40 years old. We received two bids. I believe we opened them on the 12th of November. Received two bids. We're asking that you approve the award to the lowest bidder, lowest responsive bidder, Northwest Pipe Fittings of Butte. The boiler project will save the wastewater plant about $2,000 a month gas, not only because of the increase of the efficiency of the boiler system, but also the flexibility to run one or two boilers instead of one large boiler, one, two, or three smaller boilers. Hope that makes sense. And the project would pay itself off in about 5.5 years. I think this one's kind of a no-brainer.
Thank you, Engineer Clark. Any comments from the commission? Do you have any public comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would move to award the wastewater treatment plant condensing boiler system bid purchase number 24-20 to the lowest responsible bidder, Northwest Pipe Fittings, in the amount of $126,999.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion from the commission? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Commissioners, proposals from you. What say you? Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm kind of hoping to get consensus from my colleagues here tonight to perhaps get this subject on a future administrative meeting. What I'm interested in proposing is that we look into a program that was authorized by the Montana State Legislature in 2021, which allows commercial properties and local governments to work together in what's called a Montana CPACE program. CPACE standing for Commercial Property Assessed Capital Enhancements, which is a financing tool that provides building owners with a low-cost, long-term financing option to pay for permanent, cost-effective energy or water-efficient improvements and renewable energy systems. And the purpose for this is for commercial property owners to save money on their utility costs while investing in their buildings. And the difference between this and in some conventional financing is that the CPACE financing is repaid annually through a special payment that is collected by the county as part of their real estate tax bill on the property. So it's basically allows a property owner to a different financing tool with different times for payment of that loan. So I don't have all the details on the program, but what I'm looking for is for us to perhaps direct staff to better inform us at a future administrative meeting.
I don't have a problem with that, Commissioner. I think we can get the stakeholders to tell us more about it and explain what the program is. I'm all for it. Let's have it on a future administrative meeting. I don't mind. Go ahead,
Mr.
Commissioner.
Mayor, thank you. Yes, I'm also supportive of bringing this to an administrative meeting. This is a conversation that's been happening on and off for really the last year and a half, 2 years, since the legislature passed this opportunity. We don't get a lot of chances to add tools to our toolbox to facilitate more development in a responsible manner and create more opportunities for sustainability and economic development. One thing I would add is that the county in the last year and a half has made it, there are more or less 2/3 of the county commission that has made it pretty clear they're not interested in pursuing CPACE from a county level. There are other municipalities who have done it in Montana without their counties, and I think that it's a good decision for us to have the conversation and create this tool for businesses and commercial entities in Helena. And I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would concur. I'd be absolutely in favor of this. The businesses and that I've had an opportunity to speak with, and the chamber, I met with them today to talk about this, and they need this tool in their toolkit. And we have an example down in Three Forks that is working really well. And there are, like it was just said, there are other communities that are looking at this. I'm absolutely in support of this, and I thank Commissioner Logan for bringing it forward.
Fully support.
Thank you.
Bringing this forward.
Mr. Mayor, just briefly, I have a number of people who would be good resources to deal with or to help facilitate the discussion that I'll share with the city manager and staff to get this moving forward. So thank you.
Acting Manager.
Mayor, Commissioners, I'll work with City Manager Burton so we can get this on a future admin meeting. And then I'll have him link up with Commissioner Logan to get those resources there.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Do you have any other proposals from the commission? Commissioner?
Just one question. A few weeks ago at an admin meeting, there was a discussion about a small business ombudsman advocate role that was discussed and concurred upon. I wanted to see if there was an update from the city with regards to adding that position to the budget. If Manager Burton were here today, sorry, the poinsettia is in my way, but if Manager Burton was here, I'd ask him. But thank you, Acting Manager Petty.
Mayor, Commissioner Shurtleff, I do not have that information, but when Manager Burton gets back, we'll visit about that. Thank you.
Any other proposals from the commission? All right. Report of the city attorney.
Mayor, Commissioners, I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Report of the acting city manager.
Mayor, Commissioners, nothing to report tonight.
Communications from Helena Citizens Council, Representative Robert Huffman, you have the floor. Madam Clerk, would you check online?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I only have two brief updates. We're working on a few new recommendations for the Commission for January, and HCC hopes to have an open house in 2025 with the theme to be determined. And that's all we have to report this month.
Thank you, sir. Comments or questions for Representative Huffman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Regular items. So do we go back to this? So, which one was it? The consent agenda. Yeah, okay, we're on regular items now, so yes, you take the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is an agreement our proposed agreement between the city and the Montana Internet Corporation. And there were a couple just minor changes. There was a little bit of back and forth between the city and Montana Internet Corporation after this agreement was initially sent over to you in your packet. And the changes are just to the date in that first paragraph. So we updated the date to December of 2024. And then on page 2 of the agreement, in section 3A, the leased conduit section was updated to say the city hereby leases on a non-exclusive basis to grantee leased conduit along Rodney Street between Helena Avenue and East Broadway Street. So that area in which the lease would occur was specified a little bit more to reflect what is in the exhibits. So this agreement is for the purpose of leasing conduit. The city installed this conduit a while back for this exact purpose, to lease to companies like Montana Internet Corporation, so that these telecommunication companies aren't tearing up the street continually. We already have the conduit in place and they just slide their conduit in. Other companies are able to do the same if they were to come to the city and request this kind of agreement. And in exchange for this, the use of the conduit, the city is receiving about $1,200 in total compensation. $800 of that is going to be in the form of internet to 2 separate locations. And so the city thinks that this is a good use of the conduit, and we'd ask today that you approve this amended agreement.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Do we have any public comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I will move to approve the agreement for the lease of city conduit between the city and MIC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Consider adopting the strategic plan implementation strategies. Public Information Officer Garson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So tonight I'm presenting on behalf of the City Manager's Office, implementation strategies that have been really a collective work throughout all of the city departments, building upon the Commission's strategic planning retreat that took place last December. So I'll give a quick overview for those that are watching that are unfamiliar with the process we've been going through, and then we would ask you to consider adopting the implementation strategies that we brought forward. So in December of 2023, the City Commission and City Manager hosted a strategic planning retreat over the course of a couple of days. Out of that retreat, city staff compiled a document really collecting and highlighting the strategic goals that came from the retreat, a set of core values that the Commission had identified that were important for all of the decisions that are made and the projects that are being undertaken by city staff. That strategic planning document was adopted in June of 2024. And then from there, the city manager asked that we start working towards documenting all of the implementation strategies, which is really an action plan for the work that is being done throughout the city's departments. There are a couple of things that I wanted to highlight for what is included in the implementation strategies. There are aspects of the strategic plan going back to the retreat that were carried forward, but that conversation was really a snapshot in time, and so it wasn't incorporating everything that our departments are working on. And so our goal was to expand upon the strategic planning retreat and include more information from the various capital improvement plans and operational projects that are of high priority and high impact. If you're looking through the implementation strategies document itself, there's a lot of information to digest, obviously. The action items are really highlighting the projects and initiatives that we're working on. There's a resources section that is intended to highlight the staff time that is required to move these projects forward, whether or not a commission decision will need to be made. Many of these things, whether it's in budget allocation or policy decisions, will require or have required commission decision. And so that is highlighted in the resources section. And then the final piece is budget impact. And it was mentioned when we discussed this at the administrative meeting a few weeks ago. And we have added it to the document now, notating that not every item in the implementation strategies document has budgetary funding allocated for them currently. So some things that are forecasted to be brought forward in the next couple of budget cycles would require a commission decision to allocate funding for those projects. And then the last piece is the time frame. We operate oftentimes based on fiscal years, and we decided to categorize projects based on the calendar years that we would be looking at working on them. Hopefully that will make the most sense for anyone from the public that's looking through this information. So from here, again, we'll ask the commission to consider adopting the strategic plan implementation strategies. This document and this information is going to be more fluid than the strategic plan itself. I think the strategic plan is intended to have a longer shelf life, in its current state, whereas this work plan will evolve and change as we go forward. And so the city manager intends to have periodic updates to the commission on the status of projects. New projects will be added as they're identified as priority. As things are completed, they'll be noted and they may eventually come off of this plan. We're also working on incorporating all of this information into the website to make this information most accessible. I've been working with the clerk's office to create new web pages that will house this information. And then finally, one of the conversations in the administrative meeting was also trying to make this information a little bit more dynamic and attaching it to meeting resources and presentations and resolutions and different types of information that gives people hopefully a lot more context than just the information in this spreadsheet. And so the clerk's office has been working hard to come up with some ways that we can leverage the different technology that we have at our disposal, like M-Files and our new agenda software. So more to come on all of that, I would say, but we're hopeful that we have some direction on ways to connect a lot of that information that we already have to some of these projects to make them a little bit more, I guess, easy for people to research and understand. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners? Any comments or questions for Officer? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I thank you for the presentation and for putting together the implementation strategies. I really love the idea of having each of the items listed and then resources attached. I think that will give people a lot better idea of kind of the history of different projects and maybe barriers and how we're trying to overcome them. One question I do have is in terms of the update schedule and like our periodic strategic planning updates, are you planning on including the date changing, like updating dates and progress reports after or during budget, or do you have kind of a idea of timeline for that?
Thank you, Commissioner. The city manager hasn't identified a specific date. He and I spoke about possibly quarterly updates to the commission on the implementation strategies. And so I believed, based on the timeline, that there would be some type of update during the next budget cycle, just with how that all would be scheduled out. But we certainly can confirm and update the commission on when the first one would be.
I think that would give us a better idea. I mean, I think not just for the public, but for the commission to have a kind of tabs on how some of these projects are going, because oftentimes we don't hear and the public doesn't hear until something's done or there's a roadblock. So quarterly, I think, is ideal.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor. If I might, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Dean, also the city manager asked that as you well know, at this point, we're trying to coordinate with the local government center and Dan Clark, the executive director, to come back and do an update with all of you and report. And I think that that's something that we could ask Mr. Clark to include as part of that strategic plan update, is create a calendar of some sort with you and the city manager that makes sense for everyone.
Do we have any other comments or questions for Mr. Garson?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just would like to, well, I guess, I think it's goes without saying that a strategic plan and planning in general is very important for any organization. And I appreciate the work that the city manager's office and Mr. Garson have done, as well as the clerk of the commission and really all of the departments to input into this. And I know it's been a lot of work but really appreciate it. So thank you.
Do we have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would move to approve the adoption of the 2024 strategic plan implementation strategies.
Second. Oh,
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any final further discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Consider enlargement of water and sewer service area for 850 Sparta Street, legally described as S36, T10 North, R04 West, MS4874. Oh boy. SWNESE, GOVLT7, LESSCOS 393-667, 334-396-546944. Director Leland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Commission. And to make it easier, we will just call it 850 Sparta Street.
Why
So,
don't you just put it there like that?
yeah, so we don't have to go through everything, but for the legal end of things, but for the presentation, it'll be 850 Sparta Street.
Okay.
This is about a 72-acre piece of property that is located at the end of Sparta Street. So it actually goes from West Main up the very steep hill to Sparta Street. And it is located above our Upper Hale Reservoir that is located, I'm trying to get the mouse to work, but it is basically the 99 that is on the middle of the map and then above Hale. So looking at it, it is an undeveloped piece of property. I don't know what happened, but it's the undeveloped piece of property that is located off of Sparta Street. It is located above Upper Hale Reservoir, which is our highest pressure zone that is located in the city of Helena. It's about, anywhere from 60 to over 100 feet above what we can serve the property because it needs to be at 35 PSI. So extending the water and sewer, the difficult part of this one, or the one that is going to be in question, is the water, and the sewer is located in Sparta Street. Water is in Sparta Street. So they can connect the sewer to it depending on where it is located in the 72 acres. So it will depend on the development itself and when it comes in for a building permit, what is actually going to be the final requirements. But with the expansion of the water and sewer service boundary, we will be able to dictate with that during our development review process. So it'll have to have, since it is above the water and sewer service boundary, it will have to have a pump station. And the question that will come in is, will it either be a public lift station or pump booster station or a private booster station? And that will depend on where it is developed on the piece of property and if it needs fire hydrant or not. So if it doesn't need a fire hydrant, can use the existing fire hydrant based on the building and fire codes, which is around 400 or 600 feet, depending on if it's sprinkled. So depending on the development, they may not have to have another fire hydrant, but if it is located further away, there will have to be fire hydrants depending on where it is with the building code, then they will have to do a public booster station so the city can maintain and control the outcome of the fire hydrant that is out there so we can put out the fire. So with that, the conditions for this, and it is just for water and sewer at this time, is to extend mains to the edge of the property, and then both water and sewer hook up with city services. And then depending on if it needs to be a public lift station or a new hydrant is required, then we would put a public booster station or tank. They can do either one. You can feed it off pumps or you can do it with the tank. It just depends on which way they'd like to go. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Director Leland. Commissioners? Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, so this is a pretty unique agenda item. I mean, in the last 5 years, I can't think of this happening before. So I'm curious how many properties are there like this out in city limits, but outside the water and wastewater service boundaries? And I mean, how often are we getting these kind of requests?
Mayor, Commissioner, this isn't actually a unique situation. It is established because when the city was becoming a capital, it was the lots, there had to be a number of lots to become a state capital. So when we were in competition with, or Helena was in competition with Anaconda, they platted lots back in Pennsylvania. So no regard for topography. So there is quite a few lots that are located within city limits, like Sugarloaf Hill. That is all platted lots that are up there. As you go further up, you can see some of the platted lots on this map right now that are within city limits, like on the end of Iowa Street and as you're getting into the South Hills. So there are quite a few. But based on the topography and the rock and everything, they're very difficult to and expensive to try and maintain. So most of the time, you aren't looking at any of the lots that are above the service area, but we have had that before, but we are not seeing a ton of them right now at this point.
Okay, so that's helpful. So the reason I asked that question is that oftentimes when we get some of these things that don't often come to the commission, we're setting precedent. So these are consistent actions that with some of the other properties that have had similar issues. Is that correct?
Mayor, Commissioner, yes, it is
Okay.
correct. This is the exact same, based off city code. You extend the water and sewer across the frontage of the property, and then you have to provide fire protection depending on what the development is. And then if it is below, then you have to do, a booster station that meets DEQ requirements, either private or public, but this is consistent of what we've done before. On a little bigger scale, it was over in Reber PUD. They put a tank up above Forest Estates to meet this requirement.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful.
Any other commission? Do you have any public comments on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioners?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
move to conditionally approve the enlargement of the water and wastewater service area for 850 Sparta Street with the following conditions. Extend both the city water and wastewater mains to serve the property either through South Street or a new easement. Install a wastewater service to city standards. Install a water service to city standards, which will require either a booster station or tank. If new hydrants are needed, the new hydrants must be supplied through a city main and either a city-owned tank or booster station.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Consider settlement agreement to resolve RGB et al. Versus City of Helena lawsuit street assessment case. Dr. Leland?
Mayor, would you mind if I did this one?
Okay, I wouldn't mind at all. It's just that his name is on it. That's why,
Director Leland, if you'd like to add in, feel free. Mayor, Commissioners, I would like to actually defer this to Murray Warhank. He is online, not in Helena today, so he's appearing online. He represented the city in this lawsuit, as you might recall from the admin meeting where we discussed this matter. And he is prepared to give the presentation and your consideration.
you bet. Attorney Warhang, you have the floor. Can't hear you.
You hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I apologize that I was not able to be at the meeting in person tonight. So obviously we probably remember this case a little bit. I just want to go over the case background, talk about the settlement, the proposal a little bit, and then take any questions that you might have. So this is the case filed by business owners in town that were unhappy with several aspects of the funding mechanism for city streets, including the methodology of calculating the assessments, the founding and the way that the entire system of assessments work. And they alleged that there was payments that were made out of street assessment funds that should not have been made out of street assessment funds for or pursuant to state law. We kind of, as we got into the case over the years, divided the people who were suing into two different categories. You've got a number of property owners who are just, they own normal lots that a business would be on. Such a number of them are casinos, things like that. But then there's three properties that were a little bit different than the rest of them in that they were what we call in this case underdeveloped, meaning that they're a lot larger than the developed area for commercial use. So for instance, if you had a 40-acre lot with a small, retail store on it, under the current street assessments, you would be taxed on a per square foot basis for the entire lot, which could be a quite large assessment as compared to the amount of actual commercial space that you're using. So we went down the lawsuit path on this one. We got a favorable ruling on a motion to dismiss and then did discovery on the remaining claims. And we've kind of come to now the second point I want to talk to you about, which is just the terms of this proposed settlement agreement. You may recall we spoke about it a little bit in a closed session at an administrative meeting a while back. The first proviso of this settlement agreement would be neither side admits any liability. Neither side admits that they have done anything wrong. The city doesn't admit that its assessment methodology was in any way flawed. The second prong is a release of some of the funds that those three properties I talked about that are underdeveloped have paid into protest. I did the calculations on it. I think it's actually going to end up being a little bit advantageous for the city, maybe about $50,000 if these people had just followed the city's process to work through issues like this that had happened in the past. Then the final thing would be that when the street assessments come up or street methodology comes up again in the summer, the city or the county or the city commission would agree to a slightly revised methodology for these sorts of properties. We know of these three. We don't know that there are going to be any other ones, but it tracks the city's historical pattern and practice of working with people who are in this position, such that essentially if you have a large lot that has a small commercial development on it, you would be taxed, one, for the area of the very small commercial development. Say that might be 10% of what your assessment would be otherwise, and then you would pay the commercial flat rate for the rest of the property. So this is consistent with the way that the city has done it in the past, and we think this is a methodology that the city proposed to the petitioners in this case, and we were lucky enough to get them to agree. Obviously, nothing in the settlement agreement is final until the commission makes its determination, yes or no. One, to agree to the settlement agreement, and two, to adopt the methodology, but that would be later. So that is the overview of this. It's our recommendation that it be accepted. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Attorney Warhank. Commissioners? Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Warhank, thank you for the presentation. Just this is probably a hypothetical question. Well, I'm pretty sure it is a hypothetical question. If this settlement, if the commission does not agree to this settlement, what's the process going forward as far as
we're right back into the lawsuit. The matter would be scheduled for trial to talk about, or would be scheduled for trial, and we would go into expert discovery to determine the benefits that city streets have for people versus the costs that they have to these businesses. But all the claims would be back on the table and would kind of be back to square one.
So, Mr. Mayor, follow up. So would that be in district court then?
Yes.
And then one last question, if I may. So in your presentation and also in Exhibit A, it seems to indicate that this settlement agreement is not just about these properties, but other similarly situated properties might in the future be able to reevaluate their assessment process on their property or methodology.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. I should have gotten dug more into that. Yeah, that's right. There could be additional ratepayers who could avail themselves of this process. They would have to have more than 40% of the total area of their property be undeveloped. We're not sure that there are any, but if those people were going to go through the process, they would have to make an application to Mr. Konopke and his office to make a determination about how much of the property is undeveloped and unused and things of that nature. And so they would have an opportunity before tax and assessments bills went out to learn that information about what these potentially unknown commercial ratepayers would how it would affect the base.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, one last one, I promise. So how would a similarly situated property owner know about this?
It would be part of the assessment procedure. That it would be that they would make that they would be able to make that assessment. They'd learn about it the same way that they would learn about an assessment. I'm not certain about what internal mechanisms the city would want to employ to let people know about it. I know that in the past there have been ratepayers who have been in touch with people in the city, been in touch with the city manager for sure about these issues. I would think it could be raised there. But then after they spoke with Mr. Konopke and his folks, they would also have the ability to appeal to the city manager. So.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Warhank.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Do you have any public comments on this topic? Madam Clerk, any online?
Mr. Mayor, I have no public comment online.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve the settlement agreement proposed by the city.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Shertliff,
Aye.
Commissioner Logan,
Aye.
Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Warhing.
Thank you all.
At this time, is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one hand raised online, Loretta Briscoe.
Would you please put her through?
Ms. Briscoe?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am actually on this meeting today for a little bit of guidance, and I thought I'd start with you. I know there's also zoning meetings and parking meetings, and my issue, I feel like it's covers all of you guys, and I need to know if you can guide me in the right direction. I have actually personally appeared in the city county attorney's office and left my name and number. I myself and other neighbors in my area are having issues, and from what I can tell, it's been issues for many years with what all of us would consider a hoarder. And this particular person appears to be living in this zoned residential area and appears to be also conducting a firewood business out of this residence because he splits wood with one of those big mechanical splitters on the street, not on his property. He does it on the street. He also has 6 or more trucks that constantly are parked in front of all of our properties. They're either filled with this unsplit wood, or it's a bunch of garbage, or it's a broken garden window. The other thing that is happening is he sometimes has illegally parked, where he's parked one of these flatbedded trucks with 2 wheels up on the property that I am currently renting, which then caused that vehicle to spill diesel onto the public street, and it was running down the gutter, which I have pictures of all this to show that it wasn't just a drop or two, it was running down the gutter. He also appears to be going to a yard, another lot, which is not under his name, where he has, it's basically a private junkyard. It's an eyesore. There's broken down vehicles. There's a refrigerator in the yard. The house, I guess, burnt a couple years back and hasn't been torn down. Shed with a door off, with garbage blowing in these extensive winds that we have. And then in front of his house, during the summer, he's got his camper and his ATV on a trailer, but all of these business trucks with wood and whatnot are in front of everybody else's properties, meaning their family and friends have to park blocks away because he's taking up all this space. So my question to you all is, can you give me a starting point? Do I need to start a neighborhood petition about the problems that this man is causing? What's my first step?
Thank you, ma'am. Your first step, you've done it. We will take it from here.
Okay. So I mean, I didn't really, in a public setting, want to throw somebody's name around or the address, but I can surely give you 2 property addresses that are the 2 that you can look at from Google Earth. You can drive by and see what I'm talking about.
Ma'am,
Yes,
you said you had already left your information at the city attorney's office, right?
I did.
Okay, we will take it from there.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much.
You bet. Madam Clerk, do we have any other raised hands?
Mr. Mayor, I have no other public comment online.
Commissioners, any other comments from you? Without further ado, this meeting is adjourned.